Do I need to introduce you?
Go ahead.
This is, oh man, Nico from, oh man.
Nebula Photos.
Oh man, I'm losing my voice here. I'm losing my voice. I've talked so much today. But I don't know, you were here last year. Were you only here for one day?
No, I was here for the whole thing. And I remember ZWO had the camera angle adjuster. I posted that and everyone was like super excited, but also like, when's it finally going to come out? Now it's finally out, I think. So that's one thing I remember.
Yeah, because that was last year was 1 year afterwards, and I think it was almost 2 years it took us to like really get it.
Yeah. Yep. Have you tested it yet? Or?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I have too. Yeah. Okay. So it works.
How many do you have, or do you want to have?
I just have one. I did pre-order more, but then I was like, I don't know if I want to keep the pre-orders until I've actually tested it. So, how many did you get?
I just have one for now. It's probably going to go on the mono camera. So, but I really like it. I think with a wider type sensor, I kind of feel like I need it more than I did when I was using like a 430, like when I was using the 1600, because that's very close-ish to squarish. That one I didn't feel like I needed it as much, but now with these newer sensors that are almost all of them are for video format originally, you know, it kind of feel like I need it a little more.
Yeah, that 585 with the 16:9 aspect ratio is pretty interesting. How that's getting really popular, and I like it, I guess. What do you think of that?
I think it's an awesome camera for like people starting out, like they want to try mono, because there's a mono version of it, and everybody's kind of pretty quick to actually release a mono version, which I'm all for.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a nice, easy way for people to start doing narrowband and so forth.
Yeah, the Minicam 8, I like the innovation there with like the custom filters that are only big enough to cover the sensor. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. And I hope to use that a little bit more, because I only got it out like 2 nights, I think, and yeah, it was fun.
I think it's going to give people like a good experience, because there's no amp glow, calibration was really easy, and because it's a smaller sensor, it's easier. You know, with smaller sensors, everything's easier. I mean, you've tried some big sensors, you know that they're harder.
Yeah, and I've heard people talk about online that this is like the newest Sony technology, and it's actually like in some ways superior to the bigger sensors in terms of like quantum efficiency and things like that. Yeah, so that's pretty neat.
I think it's Starvis too, I think.
Yeah.
And Starvis 2, the cool thing about Starvis 2 is that we can have a greater depth of dynamic range essentially for each and every single pixel, because of the old sensors, basically the bottom of the well, which the light falls into, it was entirely relative to how many photons we could count, okay? And the size of the bottom of that well was tied to the size of the pixel. But now with Starvis 2 technology, we can use the sides of the well to count pixels, or to count photons of light. And because of that, it's basically, well, just how deep do you want your well? And therefore, with like very small pixels, we can get very, very large dynamic range, so to speak, and we can count more pixels.
Thanks you for that explanation. That was great. I didn't know. I didn't know that. I just heard it's better quantum efficiency, blah blah blah. But that was a really cool explanation. Thanks.
Yeah, but it really is going to kind of like break the barriers. Like we're going to see smaller pixels now on cameras than we have in the past, which we kind of don't like in astrophotography, just because of like, you know, pixel scaling in the sky and so forth. But that's for big telescopes. You know?
Well, yeah. I want to do a video on sampling, because I now have a Sony ZVE1, which has 8.3 micron pixels, and it is pretty amazing. You can see the signal-to-noise ratio difference when you take short exposures with big pixels. It's just like, it's readily apparent. So I want to do something around like real-world effects of the pixel size, because I think that a lot of people are confused by it.
Yeah. I know, it did baffle me for a little while, but then I just kind of like, I think I worked out once or twice the approximate focal length, approximate pixel size, and then I just kind of stayed within those boundaries as I built each of my rigs. And that's kind of how I did it. I didn't stress about it too much. And I know I've had people ask me on my channels, like, should I worry about this and that? And I was like, well, if you're not spending more than 10 grand on your equipment, you know, don't sweat about it too much. It's when you start spending 10 grand, then you need to squeeze every bit of performance out of your equipment you can, because it's costing you a lot more.
Yeah, I think the big concern is like oversampling with spending a huge amount on a huge scope, and then your limits are all these other things. And so, yeah, and so that's when you really have to think about it more. Yeah.
Nico, it's great seeing you here at NEAF.
You, Ben.
Well, I'm not going to Cherry Springs this year, so
I'm not
are you
sure
going?
if I'll be there either, but so it might be next NEAF, but maybe sooner. Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, man.
Nice to meet you. Nice